What's up, guys? Teddy Striker here, and my original video for today was supposed to be about Justin Gaethje versus Islam Makhachev, because yesterday it was announced that Dustin Poirier is fighting Benoit Saint-Denis, and Charles Oliveira is fighting Arman Tsarukyan, and what I thought was going to get announced next was Islam Makhachev versus Justin Gaethje, because Islam had been saying that he wanted a fight in March or April. So I figured, they're going to do UFC 300. They're going to have Leon Edwards on there versus Bilal Muhammad. They're going to have Islam on there versus someone else. And they could potentially have the return of Israel Adesanya, versus Alex Pereira, or versus the winner of Strickland and Duplessis. But that didn't happen. Apparently Islam's out with an injury, undisclosed injury, until the summertime. And when I heard of that, for some reason I thought about how USADA is gone and how the UFC doesn't have a drug testing agency. Like, they still haven't found one, or they haven't put it into effect yet. So fighters could potentially be doping, and there would be no repercussions for that. Like, there's a UFC card this weekend, and what if Magomedov is doping? He just goes out there and destroys Johnny Walker. Who knows? But the point of this video is to talk about Islam Makhachev and Team Khabib, because for a while now I've suspected them to be using something. For one, we know that these guys cut a ton of weight. We've seen Khabib struggle for dear life when he fought Justin Gaethje. There are some rumors that he weighed in above the lightweight limit, and he was heavier than 155 pounds. Daniel Cormier, a close friend of Islam and Team Khabib, he's come out and said that Islam walks around at 200 pounds. For a lightweight, that's really heavy. I mean, although some of these guys like Chandler and Poirier, they walk around 190, so 10-pound difference isn't too much, but it's still a lot. For 155 pounds, what if you're fighting guys who actually weigh around 175 and they cut 20 pounds? Well, you're out there cutting 45 plus pounds. That's a lot. But Islam and Usman Nurmagomedov, they've both tested positive for a performance enhancing drug in the past, which is called meldonium, and that basically helps with your recovery and your performance. It provides you more oxygen, I guess, in your muscles. And Islam and Usman both tested positive for that same substance. If Islam tested positive, I think it was 2015 or 2016. It was a long time ago, but it was because he blamed it on a heart condition. Which, if that was the case, is it prescribed for him now? I haven't heard anything about that. I haven't seen anything about that. So why isn't he using it now? So who knows? And Usman Nurmagomedov in Bellator, did he have the same heart condition coincidentally too? I don't know. I'm going to put my tinfoil hat here and say it's not a coincidence that both of these guys tested positive for the same substance. I've seen this before in boxing with Canelo Alvarez's camp. He tested positive. I forgot what drug it was, but it was something that helped you maintain muscle while you're cutting weight. And what's his name? Oscar Valdez. He tested positive for the same drug. Canelo tested positive whenever he fought Triple G. I think it was 2017, 2018. Oscar Valdez then tested positive in 2021 or 2022. And I think Andy Ruiz, who trained at the same camp, I don't think it was the same drug, but he did test positive for something else also. And on top of that, Umar Nurmagomedov, he pulled out the Corey Sandhagen fight, and there's no disclosed reason for that. It was very odd. Usually they say maybe you have an injury or you're sick or something like that, but they didn't say anything about that. They just said, oh, he's out the fight. I don't remember hearing a reason for that, so that seemed really suspicious and weird. And on top of that, fighters who fight outside of the US, basically anywhere in the world, but these guys over in Dagestan, they don't get tested as much as fighters in the United States. I tried going into the USADA database to see, how many times Islam has been tested this year, because usually they show you how many times they test the athletes. And for some fighters, they test them more than others. Like, for example, John Jones last year, I think he was tested like 15 times. Well, for some reason, Israel Adesanya, this was like maybe in like quarter 3 of last year or quarter 2. He had only been tested 5 times, which is very weird. But guess what? He lives in New Zealand. John Jones lives in the United States. So fighters who live outside the US aren't going to get tested as much. And recently, on the Bradley Martin podcast, Chito Vera came out and said that I don't think he's doping or anything, but when you're in the sport like this, you're gonna hear stories about guys who cheated in the past. When you go around like people like old fighters and stuff like that, or maybe even people in your gym, you're gonna hear stories like that. So he said that it's very simple to pass a drug test. At least it was, because now there's no USADA. But yeah, basically you would only need like $20,000 and then you're good for like the just getting a doctor to maybe develop a new drug that's undetectable in the USADA testing system. So these guys could have done that, and you hear stories of guys like Bilal Muhammad say that, oh, these guys train so hard, they're so disciplined. This is like the most disciplined team I've ever been around, and say all this type of stuff. So when you hear Islam test positive for meldonium, and you think about like the recovery aspect and the performance aspect, you'll think, okay, that would benefit you a lot more than just like for your heart problems, quote unquote, because I feel like that was just an excuse. And Bobby Green even came out, and Bobby Green and Benoit Saint Denis, they've both called Islam out for using steroids. And Bobby Green's claim was that apparently to avoid the drug test, because you can avoid up to, like, if you reach 3 or more drug tests that you avoid, then you get like suspended. But you can avoid like 2 drug tests and like have no consequences. So basically what happens is USADA comes to your home or wherever you're staying at, and if you're not there, they're like, okay, that's fine, we'll come back to test you again at a later date. Then they come back the second time and they were like, okay, that's fine. Then they come back the third time and you miss it again, then something happens to you. But you can skip 2, so that's really helpful in this. And there's some loopholes of telling them your location, stuff like that. But back to what Bobby Green was saying, he said that Islam and Team Khabib would like hide at like a mosque, like while they were praying, so that USADA couldn't, drug test them and like not disturb them, which is crazy to say. But, and I don't know why he's saying that, but it could be true. Like sometimes truth is like crazier than what we think. So who knows? But I just find it weird that like several fighters within the same camp test positive for the same thing. I'm not trying to discredit Islam, but I think he's using PEDs.